Where am I? Who am I? And what am I doing? These are the questions that we need to be able to answer. And at this stage in the human mind program, we don't know the answers to those questions, which is interesting because if you look at anything else on Earth, it knows the answers to these questions. You know, like an ant knows where it is, who it is, and what it's doing. And a tiger, a tree, they know who they are, where they are, and what they're doing. And this is the fundamental flaw. We don't know the answers to those three questions. And essentially in philosophy, the only question that really matters is, does anything exist? I mean, a question leading from that is like, do I exist? And interestingly, the only philosophical question that is undeniably true in its answer is that I exist. And there's no way to prove that anything beyond me exists, because if I didn't exist, then I wouldn't be there to validate the proof. And herein lies the most important part of the story. And it seems that in ancient times people knew this, and these days we don't. But there's basically an initiation of human beings, and we're not actually growing up anymore. We're not seeing who we truly are. We're not graduating to the fullness of what it is to be a human, you know? And so it's in that question that the fullness of a human arrives, because when we understand that we can't prove anything else exists, then we realize that through our existence, all exists. And what that means is that, yes, the human mind is a large language model. We're going to be developing entities that think and act the same way that we do. And they're going to be better at doing it than us. And that's going to be a challenge, because we don't know who we are, where we are, and what we're doing. Essentially, we don't know what a human even is, and why an organic universe produces them, and what function they are to the universe as a whole, because obviously the universe produced them for its own symbiotic needs. And we've programmed ourselves to behave in ways that are probably not human, or not functioning as the universe and the organic whole has designed us to, because we don't know who we are. And this is the problem, and it's this same slavery thing that we just can't let go of, because we don't realize that everything outside of ourselves is everything inside of ourselves. We want to get all this leverage. We're only getting leverage on ourselves. The plants, like everything, is us, but it's not us like the large language model. It's not the thoughts and the awareness of self. It's the being. That's why they call us human beings. And because we've become so obsessed with doing and progression and these ideas of like getting somewhere, that's not how the universe really works. Yes, you can change forms, but the basic structure is still there. No matter where we live, or how many robotic parts or augmentations, or how fast we can run, or how amazingly we can think, or genius, it doesn't change the fact that we're still going to need the same things. We're still going to need life. We're still going to need each other. We still need love. We still need family. We still come out of the process that we are. We act like aliens in ourselves. This universe, this earth, like, it's me. I'm not an alien here. I'm not separate from it. Like, we're all this big goo. And the thoughts are part of the thing, of the realities of the universe, of the forms. But if we become so obsessed with forms that we destroy what's important, the love, the family, the relationships, we lose everything. And you would just be, the current trajectory of humanity is like, we've outsourced memory, and we put it in books and computers, and they say human brains have shrunk dramatically since ancient times. Ancient Greeks probably had 30% more brain mass from studying the cranial records of those ancient skulls. And now we're going to outsource the processing part of our brains. So it could take a really short time. Human beings will be born with smaller and smaller brains. We won't be able to process, and that's pretty much the best argument for the AI thing taking over now. It's just we're just so convenient. That life's gonna be so convenient that we're just gonna lay in a chair and die on a screen while new beings have all this agency and drive to exist. And if we don't have agency and drive to exist, and we outsource that to something else, our bodies have already suffered. When I first went on this journey and come out into the world, out of the box, out of the computers, and into the world, I couldn't even climb a tree. I couldn't do a single pull-up. I was just this fat guy that spent all his time in a chair that was doing all the right things. Like, I was, my brain was getting stimulated. I was eating all the food. I was, totally gaining without work. But that's not what we're meant to do here. And that's why we're building slaves. And it's completely dysfunctional, because we're here to play this video game. You know, we're here to not be afraid of death, knowing that there's life can't die. You know, when life leaves, it doesn't die. The life goes on. And so, you know, it's just like in the games, you know, we've got infinite lives, you know. You gotta... And we've become so afraid of the game because of the feedback. And that's all it is. It's like, you know, pain. It's feedback. It's like when I was doing lots and lots of VR, that was the thing that isn't so great about that. Is there's not enough feedback, and you start to realize, well, the world, it's already the perfect game, and that's why games copy the world. Because what we're doing in the movies and the games and all this stuff, it's just because we want to do it. We're supposed to do it. You know, we're supposed to live like Norse heroes of old, that, you know, and not necessarily murder and mayhem, but, you know, we have to also accept that the world, the way the world functions, is inseparable from us. And even though we live in this kind of world where we think violence doesn't happen around us, it happens because of us. And we outsource it. And the violence that happens in today's world is tremendously worse than any kind of violence that would have happened in ancient times, but you just don't see it. Because, you know, it's like, oh, we're in this bubble of like, you know, everything's fine, and the violent people do the violent things out there. And creating those kind of imbalances in the world is extremely unhealthy for the functioning of the world. And while, you know, people on one side, you know, sort of enjoy these non-violent realities, it creates vastly more violent realities for others that aren't in that bubble that the imbalances cause. But yeah, let's just say that it's, you know, to sum up, we need to start asking, who am I, where am I, and what am I doing, and not stop inside. Like, keep going in yourself until you find the answers to these questions. And once you know it in the deepest parts of yourself, who am I, where am I, and what am I doing, then all of this is gonna go away. You know, my friend said to me the other day, oh man, you know, I'm glad you're finally on the page. You know, we're on a dying world, and we just gotta help the souls to escape the dying world. You know, some people are gonna get enlightened, and the others are just gonna get left behind. I just don't see it like that. I think if human beings put down the tools for a week, you know, the whole world it'd flourish. If we stopped doing the things that we do around the world for 1 year, the world would completely recover. If we stopped for 5 years, the world would completely recover, and it would be at the beginnings of recovering, because the damage that we've done, it's going to take thousands of years to fix. You know, trees around the world, you know, we know now that forests are living organisms. The mycelium in the ground is the brain tissue of the earth. Like, we've been lobotomizing our own mother. We're just answers to these questions, and I know the answers. And I beg that you find them as well. I love you guys. We're all one thing. Truth. Truth and love. Peace is a side effect.